Hello, everyone. My name is Tooways Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Two Ways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. Where the main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be on podcast by tomorrow morning. If you are joining us live, please drop a one in the comments so that we know we're not talking to ourselves, and drop a two in the comments if you're watching the recording. My guest for this week is Lindokuhle Mnisi, entrepreneur, property developer, and executive chairman of After 12 Properties, on a mission to change the skyline of South African townships. Lindo, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me. I absolutely appreciate. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to anyone who is watching at whatever time they'll be watching. If you're watching us live, good afternoon to you. If it's in the morning or whichever time, welcome. I hope this session will be very helpful to you.
I'm sure it will be. Let's jump straight into questions. So tell us your story. Where do you come from? And maybe outside of work, who is Lindokuhle Mnisi? Give us the backstory.
Absolutely. My name is Lindokuhle Mnisi. So I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to change the skyline in the townships. I'm the executive chairman of a company called After 12 Properties. It's a company that owns a couple of rental units. That is back rooms, that is apartments, that is properties. We also have, as part of the group of companies, we also have a company called Andura Hardware, and we have 2 hardware stores that are already operating, employing at least 5 people right now. We are focusing on bringing mini or convenient hardware stores in the township. So everything that I do is centered around empowering people in the township. That is where we are right now. But let me backtrack a little bit, because that is not where things have started. I was born in Mpumalanga in a village called Lothe, and I grew up in Dundonald. This is a place that I stayed, and I used to live in a mud house, a house made out of mud, until 2011, when I had to go to university. I've always had a dream of changing lives, a dream of empowering people, a dream of changing my life and that of the people around me. And I think with the career path that I've chosen, I've been able to do that. And with the business path that I've chosen right now, I think we are on a mission, to change something in South Africa and also the world. I'm a trained journalist by profession, so I trained as a journalist, and I've worked for companies like ETV, ENCA. I've worked for SABC, SAFM as a journalist. Until I decided, let me go into business, because I've served on the space of being in communication, telling stories, and empowering people with the spoken word, and ensuring that I share other people's stories. So that is just backtracking and not covering everything, but that's just a gist of my life in a nutshell. Yeah.
Thanks. That's a good summary. So if I estimate correctly, you are barely 30, and yet you're a successful real estate developer from the township. You've taken the path less traveled. A lot of us are maybe scared to take that leap that you've taken, or we don't have the confidence to do that. How did you break through that mindset to take that leap?
It starts there with the mindset shift. You change your mindset. You stop thinking around where you are. You stop putting your plans based on where your life currently is, and you start seeing things beyond where they currently are, and you start seeing life in a different light. So when I was growing up, struggling, going a day without food, going having only a meal when you are at school because of the government feeding scheme, and only to eat the following day, I knew then and there that this is not the life that I deserve and the life that other people deserve, especially not the people that we can empower with the information that we can learn elsewhere and ensure that we impart to people. So I entered into real estate very small, because when you enter into real estate, you don't need to be doing big things. Start small. whichever thing, whichever industry you want to tap into, start small. And that is why I chose the township, because I'm from a village. And I understand that the people living in villages, living in shacks, living in mud houses, that is not conducive, that is not good. So if I can be the change that I want to see, how can I do that? So then I decided that with the first property that I'm going to buy, we were going to ensure that we build, we partition it in a way that we are in a process of giving people affordable rental accommodation. That is for low income earners in the township. So if we are to get people out of the shacks into a proper dwellings, like a room, a back room, that is a simple business model that for me could be a business, but for somebody it could be a life-changing help that we can come up with. So that is how we entered into the real estate space, and we said we are going to construct and develop rental units for low income earners, so that people can move from the shacks, from the informal settlements, and actually come into the proper structures in back rooms, apartments, and cottages within the township, just to ensure that people have a conducive place to live in. So it was a mind shift change, that we can make a change, and it needs to start with us.
Oh, that's amazing. If anybody's got any questions for Lindo, please add it to the comments. We'll deal with all the questions towards the end, but I don't want to miss any of your questions, so please make sure you add it to the comments. So you mentioned it a little bit earlier that you also involved in a hardware retailer.
Yes.
So you're doing property and you're doing hardware. How does the one tie into the other one? And what is your main hustle and which one is your side hustle?
That is a very interesting question, and that is a good question, because a lot of people get to ask themselves, can one person do multiple businesses and do them well, have them operating? There is a skill that a person needs, and the skill of delegation. Obviously, there are things that you need to do yourself, but there are things that you can trust others to do them. There are people who are skilled in doing things, but they may not start. So if you have the means to start, by all means, please do so, because then you will be employing people and changing lives. So we do have hardware stores, and how that came about is that I was building the rental units for low income earners in the townships. One of the challenges that I was facing was that I was traveling quite a lot to get apologies about that. My dog is in the house. Let me just quickly get him out. That will be very disturbing. Someone is moving outside, so apologies about that. Apologies. They just need to go outside and bark. Yes. So as I was building the rental units for low income earners in the township, that's when I realized that I was spending a lot on transport to go and buy the building materials. So when I was spending a lot to go and buy the building materials, it was a challenge for me. So I came up with the idea that let me rather roll out the hardware stores in the township, so that other people who are trying to do what I'm doing of rolling out rental accommodation for low income earners, they can also get the hardware stores close by. So that's why we came up with the idea of the hardware stores. And they are quite running. They've got employees that are running them, so that I can be able to focus on the actual vision of changing the skyline in the townships.
Talk to us a little bit about the development that you're currently busy with. Do you have, talk to us about that development, and then maybe let us know, do you have investors or is it all self-funded?
Yeah, so at the moment, I can tell you now, most of the things that I do are self-funded. Self-funded, we've just purchased a property right now, a property in a township in Allendale, in Midrand. So this property is a property that has recently been registered in our name. I'll just mention it. There's a couple of other properties that we are busy developing, but this particular one has touched me, because this is one that we just completed everything we were doing on it just this month. So we got it registered into our name, and then we partition it to allow for more tenants to make use of the property. So you'll find that in a property, if you buy it right now, the maximum rent that you can collect on that property based on the market value in that location, you can only collect, say, 6,500 rand. But if you sub-partition it or subdivide it into 2 or 3 apartments, separate apartments, you can raise that price to be a little bit higher. So that's just one strategy that we've had to implement to say, rather than empowering one family or one person with a conducive place to live in, we can change at least 2 or 3 lives. So that's why we took that property and we subdivided it, put all the necessary needs that they need, your showers, your toilets, and everything, your sewer system, and make sure that we get people, at least 2 people, to share the property as apartments instead of one house. Yeah,
because you're giving them a quality product and a quality house to live in. I like
absolutely.
It. You mentioned also you trained as a journalist. You mentioned SABC and ENCA, and for the young professional out there, maybe they're in accounting or whatever industry they're in. Like, how do you switch from journalism to property? Like, they don't seem it doesn't seem like an obvious switch to somebody who's just seeing you for the first time. What did you do? Did you go on a course? What did you do? How did you make that switch?
Yeah, I can tell you now, I was privileged or lucky to afford data bundles to be able to research on things, because one thing that we struggle with as a country is access to information. So I was lucky amongst the few lucky people that are able to go to the internet and surf the internet and get information. So as I was being a journalist, doing what I do, being on TV, being on radio, talking about other people's stories, that is when, I got to learn about other opportunities that are out there. And one of those is property. Now, when you hear people giving advices about get into real estate, get into property, some people say there's money there, you'll never go wrong, it's an investment, you all those kind of advices, but they don't go into detail on the type of investments that exist. That's why you'll find people, they are doing other deals in the real estate space, and you'll find us who are in the township purely focused on the township. So I had to look at my own life and say, what do I know about a suburb somewhere in Camps Bay? What do I know about a suburb somewhere in, I don't know, whichever upmarket area? What I know and the people that I relate to me, are the people in the townships. So let me find a real estate idea around the township. What would it be? So that's where the idea now of saying, from the journalist that I am, I always deal in talking and writing, but if I need to be an investor, how can I invest in that area of my qualification? And I couldn't find anything in that. So I then decided real estate was going to be a good hustle, but also a good investment strategy for me. And the switch wasn't seamless. A lot of getting banned because you don't have the first-hand information. All you know is what you get from podcasts, from YouTube videos, and all those kind of things. So it's just research was able to help me to also learn on the job, because I learn on the job. I make the mistakes while I'm doing it. I'm one person that get moving. I get the things done rather than planning forever. So I just got in and I said, let's see how things go. And I think a couple of years later now, and a couple of rental units later, I can say we are stabilizing. All the mistakes now have started to subside. We don't make a lot of mistakes anymore. So research, and also just allowing yourself to do rather than to plan forever.
You mentioned Allendale. Which other townships have you covered?
So we've got properties in Calfontein, We've got properties in Ebony Park, that's extension 6 and extension 4, so different sections of all these areas are all under mid-rent. So we've now started only in mid-rent, and we're trying to expand our portfolio from the mid-rent area, because you'll understand that our company is only turning like 3 years this year. We're turning 3 years, so we're pretty young, and property is a big investment, so it does take time, and we're collecting the properties as slow paced as we can afford, because also we don't go out there and get external funding, external monies coming in trucks and loads. So we do what we do from our pocket. So that's why even our pace is nicely paced, and we are focusing in one township right now, which is around Midrand and Tembisa areas.
What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
One piece of advice that I would give the younger Lindo.
No, your younger self, yeah, the younger Lindo.
Yes, younger Lindo would be to say, stop doubting yourself. Stop doubting that you have something up your sleeves. Stop, doubting that there is something great about you, that you can change somebody's life. Because when you grow up from a background of not having, you tend to believe that is your life, that is where you are, that is where you belong. You have no control of where you were born and which parents gave birth to you, but you just might have control over how you turn your own life around. And I've learned as I grew up, the older Lindo grew up, to see that in life you just need to try. Just do. Don't wait for I don't know, heaven and earth to open. Just do. Just try and see, and put your all into it, and see how that how that goes. And that has worked for me. I just do.
No, that's great advice. I'm checking. There's not too many questions. There's just a couple of comments from most of the people enjoyed when your dog came through. Laszlo was quite talking that your hardware business emanated from your property business, so he loves that. And another Lindo was very much trying to chat.
Yes.
So nothing, no questions yet.
Yeah.
Are there any last few words from your side, or anything we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know?
Yeah, for the audience, I just want to share more advice to you, to say, in life, you just need to take the first step. We always hear about, people saying the first step is the hardest. I attest to that. I agree. The first step is the hardest. But if you don't take that step yourself, then who will? Now, that is one advice. You need to take the step. But let's go back into business. So we've got so many ideas that people have in their brains. We've got so many ideas that people have in their minds. If you want to be anything, a CA, you can't get it done until you get it done. You can't wish and hope for it to be done. You need to roll up your sleeves and get it done. I'm sure you'd understand, as someone who has trained as a CA, all the challenges that you've had to go through to get it done. But now it's done. Now you are moving on to other things. Now you're taking all those learnings, all those lessons, and taking them to the future that you want to actually build. So to anyone who's watching out there, if you want to start a business, whichever business it is, roll up your sleeves, get it done. Sweat equity should be your friend. You need to sweat for what you believe in. You want to start a hardware store like Andura Hardware, roll up your sleeve, get it done. Focus on something that you think you can focus on. Like, I am a village boy, I'm a township boy. I can't focus on other areas that I have no insight on. I can't sell you a house in Sentin. Let me focus on the houses that I can sell to you, or the houses in the township that I can be able to give you insight about. So don't try to be all over the place. Focus and focus. We are focusing on the township. I hope somebody out there is looking into opportunities that exist in the township, and they would like to hit me up and I would like to discuss more and more opportunities that exist in the township. Let's empower each other. Let's grow together.
Get it done, because nobody's going to do it for you. I have there's one question that slipped in towards the end. Do you mind if I run it past you quickly?
Yeah, let's hear.
We've got a question from Lee. Lee says, can you chat about the difficulty in getting external funding for property in the townships?
Yeah, so getting external funding in townships. So there are different, funders or streams of getting funding when you are wanting to invest in the township. So it's more similar to how you would get funding in another development, your commercial real estate, your any other real estate deal. So you can get angel investors, or you can get the bank through a bond, or you can get friends or family, or you can have a family that a house that already exists for you and your family, and you can start developing within that property. So for this particular question, I would suggest that you look into not only the actual funds, but the actual deals, because people focus on getting the funds than focusing on getting the deals. And there are deals that you can get at a cheaper and very distressed prices, and then you can be able to either flip those properties and grow your portfolio from there. So in terms of funding, there are so many ways of ensuring that you get the funding. You can use your pay slips to get a bond, or you can just get sweat equity with people that are already in the township and offer your services and make sure that you grow together in that particular deals. So many ways, and I'd like to continue this particular conversation with the people that are actually joining us here.
So there seems to be a lot of questions on funding. So I would also say reach out to Lindo. He's also hosts his own webinars on property. So you can also go there. Otherwise, I'm going to steal all of his time. So I'm not going to ask him all the questions, but some of them unfortunately came through a little bit late. Just a reminder, so the show is still live on YouTube and will be on podcast tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that this added value to you, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. We're still having our weekly discussion on Clubhouse about business and investing in South Africa. That's every Monday at 5 p.m. Central African time. Contact me if you need an invite. Lindo, thank you so much for your time. I sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of Two Ways to Skin a Cat. Goodbye.
Cheers.